Buffalo. Thrown down. Brian Burns gets there. Spider-Man.
What a pass rush by Burns. See how quickly he got to the edge and got
This is Desmond Johnson on the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast, here on the Bleav Podcast Network, the #1 podcast network for professionals. Do you believe? If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. We're available in your favorite directories: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Luminary, and TuneIn. You can also find us at Bleav.com and at Bleav Podcast on Twitter.
And welcome into a brand new edition of Bleav in Carolina Panthers here on the Bleav Podcast Network. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by Carolina Panthers beat writer for Sports Illustrated, Schuyler Callihan, and the Carolina Panthers all-time leading rusher, Jonathan Stewart. Here with you every week. We're getting closer and closer to week 1 of the 2023 NFL season. Your Carolina Panthers finished the preseason 0-3. But don't worry about that. We'll tell you why. Got some good stuff to talk about this morning, including kind of glad we waited till today to do this because we waited till after cuts. So we've got an official 53-man roster we can go through now. We'll go through that and kind of see some spots that might be some strengths and weaknesses as we go through the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. A little bit of audio from head coach Frank Reich talking about those cuts and how some of those players might be back sometime throughout the season. We'll discuss the mechanics of that and how that works. And we'll go through the season. Usually at this time of the year, we'll actually go through our schedule and we will pick on behalf of the show what we think the Panthers record will be. I think next week, guys, we'll go through the divisions and do the division winners, who we think is going to win each division for NFC and AFC. I think I put AFC for today, but that's probably going to be plenty. Everything that I just discussed there. Before we go any further, though, a quick word from our friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to your website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use the promo code Bleav for your 50% welcome bonus. That's BLEAV. You'll get 50% on your welcome bonus for your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. And where we start today is a quick look at the cuts here. And guys, I wanted to get your opinions on this in terms of, was there a player that got cut that actually surprised you that they didn't make the roster? Because there was a couple of names that popped up for me that I was like, oh, I'm surprised they actually let that guy go. Schuyler, you've been there at training camp and actually seen these guys pretty much daily in Spartanburg and in Charlotte. What's the #1 guy that's on this list that you look at and you're just like, man, I'm surprised he didn't make the team?
I would probably have to say Deion Jones. That was the biggest one for me. When I saw that one come through, it just kind of was like, huh? Really? I mean, and then really after that, I would say it wasn't really a surprise that he got cut because I was kind of expecting it. I left him off my last 53-man projection, but because Deion Jones was cut, I expected maybe that meant something good for Brandon Smith, but then he got let go. So that was a little confusing. But to see Keith Taylor go, not a huge surprise either. But again, a guy that was only drafted 2 years ago, and you start to look at that 2021 draft class, and we went through when it happened. Des, we were looking this huge draft class. There were so many draft picks. And we're like, man, there's a lot of picks, but I think a lot of these guys are going to be really good. And now only like 4 or 5 of those guys remain. So, and who knows what the top guys that do remain left, how much time they've got left here. So, there wasn't a whole lot of surprises. I would say in total, but I would definitely say Deion Jones is the #1 guy for me.
Stu, when you saw this list of players that got cut, was there one in particular where it just kind of took you back that he didn't make the 53?
I'm right there with Schuyler on this one. Deion Jones is the one that stood out the most. Just kind of, I just feel like I would have just assumed that they picked him up for him to be on the squad. And so given that, like my understanding of him as a player, he's shown that he can play the game and he knows the game, and for him to not make the roster, definitely a surprise.
Schuyler, you mentioned this a couple of weeks ago that you were curious to see where the quote unquote Matt Rule guys would end up with this 53 roster. And it looks like the ones that got cut were his dudes, or a lot of them, it feels like. Is that accurate? Because Keith Taylor, he drafted. Stanley Thomas Oliver III, he drafted. There's a couple names in here. I guess Shi Smith for me is the one. Deontay Brown. I was a little surprised about that one, although he's been kind of on the edge of that roster, of that 53-man roster for the past year or two. Shi Smith, I guess, was for me because they seem kind of thin at wide receiver. Although I did hear that some wide receivers will come back this week for practice or whatnot, but it felt like with the injury to DJ Chark that they would need someone that's, a fast, over the top, kind of blow the top off the coverage kind of guy. And I thought that would be Shi Smith. But then they actually answered my question by trading for this kid from Kansas City, Amir Smith-Marset. They basically swapped 7th-round picks. They're conditional. I'm not going to get into the depths of all that. And they're 2025 picks at that. So really, Kansas City just got something for a guy that was going to get cut anyway. But what do you know about this guy? Because it seems like he had a really good preseason for Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, when he played at Iowa, I do remember him playing at Iowa, and he was like literally their only receiver. I mean, they don't really throw the ball that much, but when they did, they were going his way, and obviously did the tight ends a lot. But he's got speed. He's got good hands. Frank mentioned yesterday that he can run routes really well. He can play all 3 receiver spots, which when you're kind of like that 6th or 7th receiver on the depth chart, you kind of got to be able to play all the positions. And he's got value as a returner too. So he does bring a lot to the table, but where exactly he fits in, I mean, who knows? If the whole receiver is healthy, he's probably somebody that's going to be more of a rotational guy, but I don't know that he's ever going to develop into a starter, but who knows? You never know.
What when I was hearing Frank Reich talk about this, Stu, and we'll pull up his audio here in just a bit. How do the players that are actually on the 53? Do you guys kind of know, like when the cuts happen? Who do you kind of know, like, oh, well, that guy's coming back, or that guy's going to be on practice squad? Like, do you kind of internally kind of have an idea? Because Frank Reich was talking about they don't look at it as a 53; they look at it like as a 53 plus 18 or whatever it is on the practice squad. And they can kind of interchange them, which is refreshing. I've never really heard a head coach in the NFL talk that way before about the availability of the players on the entire roster. Do players understand that? Like the ones that are like, like yourself, like there was a stalwart on the team, a star on the team. The guys are at the back end of that 53. Do you kind of know which ones are going to probably be back at some point in the season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, going through OTAs, training camp, you can see the guys that have been working in the offseason that don't have a quote-unquote locked-in roster position, that are fighting for, their spot on the team. And you can see guys that, are either developing or guys that, are taking a decline. And so, I mean, you got a good sense of knowing who's going to come back, especially if they don't get claimed by other teams. And so, and for Frank Reich, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's like some guys that he would like to hide from other teams.
Yeah.
So, I think because they're new coaching staff, and I mean, I just look at the offensive line. I look at the moves made there. Obviously they're wanting to put their faith in, their offensive line coach and groom the young guys. That's what it looks like to me, that they're going younger, getting rid of, the likes of, who was that? Michael Jordan and Cam Irving.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a player in the locker room, you get a sense of what you're needing. And you start to, especially a veteran, you start thinking about the team from a coaching standpoint, and even from like management standpoint. Like, well, we didn't do well in special teams or whatever it is that you got going on. You're thinking to yourself, well, that guy can help us, this guy can help us, and then you're even thinking about guys on other teams that might get cut and that might be coming in that can challenge a particular guy that's on your roster already. So I do remember though my rookie year, like how I felt as a rookie going through this, knowing that I was, drafted, I was safe and not going to have to, if I was going to make the team.
Yeah.
But it was an eye-opening experience because, I've developed relationships and friendships with these guys that I came in with. And like we became real tight, real close. And then the day comes when these guys aren't they're gone. Like you walk in and it's like, oh, where's so-and-so? Oh, he's gone. He got cut. He got released. Like, dang. And it's a cutthroat business, man.
Mm-hmm.
These days are not the happiest days for a lot of people. Especially if you have dreams and aspirations of, not just making it to the NFL, but actually, contributing. This is a way to feed your family. So, fans that, are going through this and watching this unfold before them, just take that, and just be reminded that, these guys are people and they don't really need to hear you bash them for why they're not making a team.
Yeah, no keyboard warriors. Don't be excited that such and such got cut or whatever. This is a dude's livelihood that you're celebrating on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. I think Hard Knocks actually did a lot, not just the season, but in general, excuse me, to really pull the cover off of that aspect of what you just described. Because before we never really saw it, we just saw a list of guys that are gone. But Hard Knocks actually would show you the process, and it's a cold process where they basically lead you into a room, the assistant director of whatever sitting in there with him, and he's just like, hey, didn't work out, get your stuff. Done. That's it. It don't even look like you get a chance to say goodbye to anybody. You just kind of get your stuff and go.
And think about the GMs and the coaching staff that have to deliver that type of news to a player that might have had their hopes up, But, I think at the end of the day, that's the nature of the business, and that's what you sign up for. But I just wanted to just give that piece because I just remember how, gut-wrenching that was, first time I experienced that.
Yeah.
And there's some guys, too, that, the coaching staff and front office may really like, and there's just not a spot for them on the initial 53. Maybe they're hoping that they pass through waivers and that they can bring them back on the practice squad or something like that. But that's a hard message, not only just because you want them to be a part of your team and that they just don't have a spot, but it's also the player probably knows that too. And that's a hard thing, knowing that player was so close, but yet there's no spot.
Yeah, that's a good point too, for a player to have to deal with that emotionally, where it's like, I'm good enough for them to think I'm good enough to try to figure it out, but I'm not good enough to just be secure. So it's you're in this weird gray area, really for a couple of weeks, because all these teams are going through the clearing all this out. And now the Panthers, now they're down to 53 guys. Now they have to kind of figure out, well, what about this guy that got cut from the Rams? Or what about that guy that got cut from the Giants? Guys that might be better than somebody on the 53 that you actually kept. Here's Frank Reich. The audio and the video courtesy of Panthers.com and their YouTube channel, where he's basically talking about, again, like I mentioned, a lot of times you just talk about the 53. I don't think I've ever heard a head coach really refer to the practice squad as part of the main roster. Like you said, finding a place to stow away some players. And he's kind of describing it here in terms of what his mentality is going forward with the roster going into week one.
Obviously, a lot of the guys that were let go today are going to be back here on our practice squad. A lot of the guys that were let go today are going to end up starting games for us this year, a lot, or however many. And it's just going to happen every year in the NFL because of injuries. It's a long season. So, and we're going to be excited about it. We look at it when we get our 53 plus the 16, I know there's that distinction. The pay is a little different and all that stuff. But as far as the coaches are concerned, this is our squad. 53 and the 16 is all one squad. So that's why really tomorrow the work will be done.
I wanted to go back before we go any further, though, and shout out to the ones that have come in this morning. Some of our faithful Bleav in Panther fans, Richard Farron checking in with us. Super fan, you my boy Blue in the house this morning. Apparently we got on before he had to go into work, so shout out to to Bleav for getting in here. Willie Smith in here, regular as well. I want to, before we go further, I do want to step back and kind of look at the preseason wide angle now that it's over. We didn't get a chance to talk about the final preseason game, but as a whole, how comfortable are you guys knowing what you know about what they're not showing, and then what you actually saw kind of that last game 3 from the offense? It felt like the Panther fan base just needed to be appeased. Like they just wanted a touchdown. Just get us a touchdown and we'll feel better about everything. So I didn't really see anybody complaining about the loss. It was more showing the clip of Bryce throwing to Adam Thielen, which was a beautiful pass. Like he threw that thing before Thielen was even out of his route, and it was perfect. Like it hit Thielen like right here, like in the face mask. Like he had no choice but to catch it, to just turn and catch. And that's the kind of stuff that made Bryce Young the number 1 pick overall. Is there anything that's bothering you going into week 1? Stu, I'll start out with you. Is there anything out there from the 3 preseason games you saw, the answers from the coaches were going to be very vanilla? They really were. Is there anything still lingering that you're concerned about going into week 1? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. There you go. Oh.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
No, but I'm not concerned. I think at the end of the day, like there's no need to really jump the gun here. I think they pretty much told us like, hey, we're not running our plays, and rightfully so. You got a division game coming up, first game of the season. So why would you want to show them anything, especially if you're in a position of being a new staff that hasn't shown anyone anything? So from that perspective, I'm excited to see what they actually going to run and how they're going to run their offense.
We have no idea what the offense is going to
look like. So if you're a Carolina Panther fan, you should be like super like juiced about the first game of the season. Got a division opponent, you got a coaching staff that hasn't shown their hand, and you got the number 1 draft pick in this year's draft that has shown a lot of promise. I'll say one thing, to answer your question, I'm not worried. I am excited.
I feel good.
I'm excited to see, because what I liked was, I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was Jonathan Mingo. Bryce threw a pass to Jonathan Mingo. They missed, and it was probably a huge play. I mean, it was definitely probably a touchdown. But everything about that play, like, said to me, oh, these guys are young, but they understand. Even that miss, you can tell they showed a close up of Bryce, and he just had this like look on his face, like, so close. Like, why didn't this just like be a big play? And so when you see guys that, like, oh man, I just missed that, but it's okay. We're gonna be okay. Type of vibe, and that's like the confidence that you want out of your top player. But he set his feet nicely, and I don't know, man. I can't wait to see what the Panthers do this year. I know they're gonna win. They're gonna win a lot. That's all.
I think they are too. Well, especially compared to what we've gone through the past 3 or 4 years, like a lot's gonna feel like 9 wins. Like we're like, we're so excited. Stu, on the other side on defense, I feel like the past couple times I've listened to Frank Reich talk, it feels like he knows a secret and nobody in the room knows it, and he's trying to figure out ways to answer questions without revealing the secret. I think the secret is they're going to be all right. Like on defense, people trying to forget Brian Burns didn't play a snap in preseason. I don't think Derek Brown played in preseason. Justin Houston didn't play in preseason. Like they didn't really play with their defense, and people are going on and on about, oh my gosh, you let Zach Wilson throw for all over the yard with the Jets and stuff, and
that's because he didn't have no dog chasing.
Yeah, like Burns went out there like scaring them to death. Like, how do you feel? Because you've actually watched like the guys that didn't play in preseason play in practice. Like I'm assuming you kind of in on the secret too.
Me.
Or
Yeah.
not. I don't know. Where are you on that?
I mean, I think there's some aspects to this roster that are concerning. I think it's actually glaring in some spots.
Yeah, let's get
like cornerback, they've got to add there. Obviously, when you let Keith Taylor go, I think there's only 4 on the 53-man right now.
Yeah, I'm pulling it.
But I mean, we've seen in the past, C.J. Henderson, 1 week looks like he's starting to figure things out and look like he's a first-round pick again, and then the next week again, it looks like he's someone that maybe shouldn't even be on a 53-man roster. So he's got to have some more consistency. But you bring in Troy Hill. I mean, he hasn't been here all that long. He hasn't played in a preseason game with this team. You don't know what that's going to look like. But before that move was made and before Keith Taylor was let go, I've been saying they need more depth at corner. They have to get more depth at corner, especially if JC or Dante go down. You're in a little bit of trouble. Defensive line, I think that's a big area of concern. I mean, outside of Derek Brown and Shy Tuttle, what do you have? I mean, I just talked to you before the show. I mean, we were kind of joking around, like, who the heck is Nick Thurman? Like,
yeah, we're about to
like these guys aren't guys that are, I would expect to be on the roster for very long. Where if they do, they're probably not going to have a huge impact. They're not long-term solutions. So keep an eye on the waiver wire for the next 24 hours or so and see if they can put in a claim for somebody to add some depth there. And then, I think the offensive line needs a little bit of work too. Really, the main theme of this whole thing is they don't really have depth. And that's not a big surprise. Like, when you go through a coaching staff change, you're going to have a complete different scheme on both sides of the ball, more than likely, and they have. And when you have all these new guys on both sides of the ball, you're going to have to – I mean, when you have a brand new quarterback, brand new receiving core essentially, I mean, it's going to take some time for these guys to actually hit their stride, but they've got to build depth, and it's going to take a year or two before that actually comes to fruition. So I think that's why when we get into these season predictions, we're going to see, like, yeah, they're going to win some games, but I don't know if they're going to win 10, 11, 12 like some fans think, just because all of a sudden they got a franchise quarterback now and a brand new coach that's somewhat competent. So, like, I think we've got to tap on the brakes a little bit because of the depth issues that may haunt this team in the back end of the season.
I like what you did there. I like how he kind of foreshadowed, like, what we're going to do in about 10 minutes with the schedule. Pump your brakes a little bit. We don't have all that depth. I don't know if by the time we get to November, dudes are going to be out there. You don't know their names. I like what you did there. I did, because you tempered me a little bit, because I'm sitting going 14-3. Let's do this, baby, right now. Let's wow. But no, we'll get to that in just a bit. Let's look at the 53. So quarterback, of course, Matt Corral, Andy Dalton, Bryce Young. Jake Luton, the fourth string guy, is out. Got cut. Are they going to carry 3 quarterbacks into the season? Matt Corral's safe?
Yeah, I think most, if not all, NFL teams are probably going to keep that third quarterback just for that, because you don't want to have that San Francisco 49er situation.
Yeah. And honestly, I was trying to think, who has a better backup situation in the league than Carolina right now? New Orleans, maybe? Well, I'd rather have Andy Dalton than Jameis Winston, I think.
I mean,
I would. I'm just trying to think of who else. Who's the backup in Kansas City? The older guy.
He retired, didn't he? You're talking about Chad Henne?
No, he's in those Subway.
Blaine Gabbert, I think, right?
Blaine Gabbert?
No,
I'm talking about the Subway commercials where Pat Mahomes on the sideline. He's like, it's the official sandwich for Super Bowl winning quarterbacks or something. And then, like, behind him, it's like the backup. He's like, it's also the sandwich for the backup of the Super Bowl quarterback or whatever. It's like, I can't remember who it is. I think it is Chad Henne. I think it is Chad Henne. Yeah, because he had to come in that playoff game last year when he got hurt for a little bit. Remember?
Yeah, but I don't think he's still there though.
And Chad Henne's got to be like 45 at this point. Like, he's been around forever. Didn't he play at Michigan like in the 90s?
I want to say he retired, but I could be wrong. I mean, you could say maybe Jacoby Brissett in Washington.
Yeah. Oh, Cooper Rush in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Chiefs backup quarterback is Blaine Gabbert.
Okay, so And then San Francisco actually kind of maybe fixed their situation. I don't want to sit here and say Sam Darnold's going to be a better second string quarterback than Andy Dalton when we just had Sam Dalton starting for us last year. That doesn't seem to equate to me. Past quarterback, running backs, they've got Raheem Blackshear, Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders, which is the three we kind of thought were going to get on here. Spencer Brown, who had a decent preseason, and the App State product, Cameron Peoples, out. I have a lot of App State friends that were asking me constantly about would Cameron Peoples make this roster, and I would just be like, but in my mind, I was like, probably not.
I feel like Spencer Brown can, if he doesn't get claimed, we can see him back.
Practice squad guy, you think?
Yeah.
Peoples might find a spot someplace because he did have a great career at App State, but on the out, they kept 7 wide receivers: DJ Chark, Terrence Marshall Jr., Jonathan Mingo, Laviska Chenault, the kid they just traded for, Amir Smith, Marset, Adam Thielen, and Derek Wright making the roster. Yeah,
that's my guy right there.
Y'all were high on Derek Wright when you first started seeing him.
His name, I call him DW.
DW. You surprised DW made this roster, or just happy he made this roster?
I'm not surprised.
There you go. See, and you said it with conviction too. Yeah, you knew.
When I saw he was out, he suited up with the ones. He took his pads off during the game, made himself at home.
You knew.
You knew.
I knew.
He knew. Yeah, you knew. They knew. Out Gary Jennings, C.J. Saunders, Javon Wims, Josh Van. Tight ends. They kept 5 tight ends: Hayden Hurst, Giovanni Ritchie, Steven Sullivan, Ian Thomas, and Tommy Trimble.
That won't stay.
They didn't cut any.
I feel like that's
that's
some heaviness right there.
That feels like when a guy clears waivers at another position that they want. That's the position room is going to be like, all right, well, not it. One of you guys is going to be the one that is going to be post cut out of here. So I'm kind of looking through these names. I thought, didn't Ian Thomas just get an extension? So Hurst is signed.
I think Ian Thomas and Hayden Hurst are really the only 2 clear-cut safe guys in that room.
You think Treble might be in danger?
I don't know if I would say he's in danger, but I wouldn't say he's necessarily safe either.
Offensive lineman. This has been the talked about topic amongst Panther faithful. Bradley Bozeman, Brady Christensen, Akim Ekwonu, Nash Jensen, Ricky Lee. Who's Ricky Lee? Cade Mays, Taylor Wilton, and Chandler Zavala made the cut. Deontay Brown is out. Former Matt Rule pick. Larnell Coleman, J.D. DiRenzo, Cam Irvin, Michael Jordan, Justin McCray, and Sam Tecklenburg. Austin Corbett got moved to the PUP list where he cannot play for the first 4 weeks of the season or something to that effect. So Corbett, the starting right guard. Anyone in there? Who is Ricky Lee? Who is Ricky
Anybody should know who that is. It should be you.
Me? Why would I? Where
A&T boy.
Oh, I don't know. I just push buttons for. I don't know roster fact clearly, but I'm surprised that look at Aggie Pride getting up in there. Only
But yeah, I mean, I think the thing there, like Stu mentioned earlier, they want to go a little bit younger, and who knows, maybe something pops through on waivers that they like and they can make upgrade. But when you start getting into some of these veterans that may have guaranteed contracts, that's something that maybe Carolina didn't really want to mess with. So you got Nash Jensen, Ricky Lee, 2 undrafted free agents. There's nothing really guaranteed there.
Nash Jensen kind of flashed.
I like Nash Jensen.
His name has come up a lot past couple of weeks, so he good for him. And that's one of the stories like Stu was saying early on, where undrafted, got to work your way up from not just the bottom, like the bottom, get past the drafted kids, the free agents, the incumbents, and to get a spot on this team where he's probably going to play somewhere along the line. If he's still in there, he's going to get a chance to play just for the nature of that position. He'll probably get out there. Are they looking at Zavala to start at right guard until Corbett is back? Or
I hope so.
They'll battle that out for the next week. Cade Mays just returned to practice, so they'll battle that out. But I mean, to go back on the undrafted stuff real quick, I think it's interesting to note that, like, for undrafted free agents, I would expect that the hardest position to actually make a roster at as an undrafted free agent is probably offensive line, because of how big that jump is at every level. You talk about it in college, like you rarely see true freshmen play. This is such a big jump. I would say that it's probably the same thing in the NFL.
Yeah,
That's a really good point. And because you never think about it, I think people think, I guess, I've heard people say like running back or wide receiver is the easiest to go from college to pro at, where it's not as huge of a jump. I don't know if I buy that completely. Stu, maybe you can talk to that in terms of was it like the speed that much faster than playing at a Power 5 in Oregon, or was it seamless because you played a lot as a rookie? Like, was it seamless for you coming in the running back position?
I think the transition for a running back it might be one of the easier. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's easy. It's easy if you have a good coach that can like really get terminology down. You're not back there thinking, because it's all about whether or not you got the information, right? If you got the information and you can, diagnose things quick, then you can just play. And that's one of the biggest things that, I feel like rookies go through, at this level at all positions, is how fast can I diagnose what's in front of me with the information that I have. And I think offensive line is one of those positions for sure, because you got calls that you got to make. You got a guy that's sweating and breathing all hard next to you and across from you, and all he wants is the quarterback's lunch, and so or the running back's lunch. But I think there's you can make an argument for each position as far as what's hard and what's not. I mean, you got DBs that got to have a memory of a goldfish by living on an island by yourself sometimes.
It's facts, though. Big facts.
Because you're going to get dogged. You're going to get dogged here and there. You're going to get beat here and there. But you got to make sure you're ready for the next play. And that you got to know the calls and where you're going to be at.
It's crazy, too, because when you think about it, like the rookies you hear about in the NFL are probably going to be those that are out on islands, wide receiver, DB. Like it seems like those flat running back, a rookie running back might come in and cause a stir. You rarely hear about that rookie offensive lineman that's like playing so well, which is, we had Icky last year. He wasn't really getting pumped as like, oh, this is the next big thing. He was having a season where he wasn't failing, like, as a rookie. So there's a different expectation there. Whereas a guy like Sauce Gardner can come in and be a star like year one if he just covers more often than not, and does his job because of the nature of that position and having the spotlight on him, I suppose. The
offensive line don't get enough love as it is. And so it's kind of good that, they don't get a lot. You got to keep them grounded.
I've always been taught that if you're an offensive lineman and your name's being called, then you're doing something wrong. Like
bad,
something bad happening for them to mention you at all on the on the broadcast. Defensive lineman, they kept. Now this is the part that me and Schuyler were looking at before the show started. They kept 5: Derek Brown, LeBrian Ray, Nick Thurman, Shy Tuttle, Deshaun Williams. We know about Tuttle and Williams. They came in from free agency. Derek Brown, of course, our first rounder. Who in the world is LeBrian Ray and Nick Thurman? Are we supposed to know who these people are, or am I out the loop? 'Cause I don't even remember hearing their names in preseason. Like, who?
Yeah, I mean, Thurman was kind of quiet, in my opinion, in the preseason. LeBrian Ray had a good game against one of the New York teams. I can't remember. I think it was the Giants game. Yeah, it was, because that's 2 days later they got rid of McCall.
That's where I think maybe that's why this looks so like thin, because McCall's not there anymore. But we never officially heard why. It sounds like he just wasn't doing what the coaches were asking him to do, which is a big problem when you're trying to make an NFL team. I would imagine you probably need to do what the coaches are asking you to do instead of freelancing it. And that's kind of what it sounded like McCall was doing. And they just had enough of it and was just like, all right, man, get out of here.
They got rid of 3 guys at that spot. They got rid of Bravion Roy and John Pennicini as well. So
Roy was a role guy. Bravion Roy was a
Bravion Roy just felt like not a true fit in this defense. And he actually got waived by the Bears. But Pennicini just couldn't stay healthy. So there's those 2. And then whatever the heck happened with McCall, I don't know. But I think this is a spot they're going to look to add.
I'm gonna put a what if in here real quick. I'm gonna scroll back up to the running back room because I've been hearing that the Bears, that Deontay Foreman may not make their roster. Did he make their roster?
If he don't make it, bro. If he don't make it, you know where he needs to come. He needs to come right back here.
Would you bring back Deontay Foreman here? And if you brought him back, who are you letting go? Blackshear or Hubbard?
I'm not letting go any of them.
I wouldn't let go any of them. I would just add him because, I mean, he's a big back presence. And
we don't really have a big back. So I'm just throwing it out now. I don't know if the Bears cut him or
I know who would like him. Deuce Staley might like him because I remember he was on the sideline last year, coaching for Detroit while we was running up and down that field. So I'm pretty sure he remembers him.
Let me go back down to the defense. So that was the defensive lineman. They seem kind of thin. Henry Anderson's on injured reserve. I would imagine that's the group that's going to get something added to it in the next 24, 36 hours, I would think, just from looking at this. They got 5 guys. Like, it feels like the spot. Outside linebacker, Amari Barno, Brian Burns, Yatur Gross-Matos, Marquise Haynes Sr., Justin Houston, DJ Johnson, all the guys that we kind of thought were going to make it. Kobe Jones, EQ, Leota, and Jordan Thomas did not make the cut. Kind of surprised a little bit that Kobe Jones didn't. But looking at the names that did, they all either showed flashes or they're Pro Bowlers. So, like, that looks right.
That looks good. That looks like a very strong position there.
Yeah, the outside linebacker, and then the inside linebackers. You got Camus, Grugier-Hill, Frankie Louvu, Shaq Thompson, Chandler Wooten. Is this the strongest position on this roster?
Depth-wise, I think it is.
Deion Jones got cut, didn't he?
Last year, I would say that the linebackers is probably like one of the thinnest groups, but now they've really revamped it. And I think the one guy there that gets overlooked a lot is Chandler Wooten. Special teams ace. He could factor in a little bit on defense, but I mean, that kid is a stud on special teams.
You were on Camus Grugier-Hill a couple of weeks ago in training camp, weren't you? Was that the one? You were saying to keep an eye out on him, and then he ends up making the 53.
Yeah.
So it would be the starting linebacking core would be Brian Burns at one outside linebacker, Justin Houston at the other one, I would imagine, with a rotation of Barno, Gross-Matos, Haynes, Johnson, and then inside you got Frankie Louvu and Shaq Thompson, where Grugier-Hill can come in and spell them, and of course Jeremy Chin can drop down in there as well. Deion Jones got cut, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like after they posted this, so he's not there. Brandon Smith cut, and probably the coolest name this training camp, Bumper Pool, is out. And Ace Ely. Cornerbacks, Jeremy Chin, CJ Henderson, Troy Hill, JC Horn, Dante Jackson. Are you surprised they're labeling Jeremy Chin as a cornerback?
I mean, I don't know what this is. I mean, I think even the team site had him labeled as a safety, but
it's where am I? I think I'm on USA Today.
I mean, he is at nickel, but so maybe that's why. But
some of their there was a lot of cornerbacks that got cut, but Keith Taylor was a 4th round selection last year.
5th round
2 years ago.
21.
One of those Matt Rule picks. It was a couple years back. He's been floating back there. Stanley Thomas Oliver III, same thing. He was a late round pick for us, if I'm not mistaken. Mac McCain III got cut. Herb Miller, Mark Milton, and Rejjon Wright. Safeties, they kept Von Bell, Sam Franklin Jr., Jamie Robinson, the kid from Florida State that they picked that a lot of people have been pretty high on, and Xavier Woods. That seems pretty strong at safety between Bell and Woods, with like Robinson kind of there and Franklin doing his thing. I like that group there. And then the specialists, J.J. Jansen, entering season 28 or whatever year it is for
this is year 32.
Johnny Hector and Eddie Pinero and Matthew Wright didn't make the cut there. So that's your 53-man roster for the Panthers. I feel pretty good about what they have, except for what Schuyler pointed out in terms of
depth.
That's kind of eye-opening that if you have something happen at a position and you don't have a whole lot behind it, that could be a glaring weakness for the Panthers. going into the season. Let's do this before we get out of here because I want to get this all in because we're getting near our end point here. Our 2023 NFL schedule. We started this last year when Stu came on, and right around this week, where we got about 2 weeks before we start the season, we actually go in and try to pick the schedule, win-loss, as a group, as a unit. So what will happen is I'm going to scroll through the season, might even put on some mood music, and we're going to pick whether or not we think the Panthers are going to win or lose that ball game, and we're going to keep track of it. And at the end of it, we'll see what the Bleav and Panthers crew believes the regular season record will end up being. And okay, so we got it here. What's y'all in the mood for? It's morning time. You want something upbeat? You want something sexy? You want something gospel? Like what are we doing here? I'm gonna throw a little something on behind us here just to set the tone and get us right.
Yeah, man. It's, let's way back. Let's do like a little way back Wednesday, like a little, like a little.
I mean, I got some like SOS band in here. We'll go a little just like
there we go.
Yeah. So we're gonna smooth this out and just we're gonna figure this out, Panther fans. So, week 1. This is crazy. Week 1, Atlanta, Sunday, September the 10th, 1:00 kickoff. How we feeling? Mercedes-Benz Stadium on the road. Nobody knows what we're running on offense, like literally, including Atlanta. Stu, win, lose. Wait, you're muted again. Oh, you're muted.
You already know what time it is.
Okay, here we go. So
Carolina Panthers win that. That's easy money. Frank Reich gonna come out there and shock the world. Like, oh, that's what they're running.
I'm sorry, I gotta stop this music. I'm not gonna make this segment if it was actually kind of matching it a little bit. So Stu's got the W. Schuyler, what do you got for week 1, Atlanta?
Coin flip, but I'll give the Panthers the edge here.
All right, well, I don't even have to vote then, so we got that as a dub. Week 2, second divisional game in a row at home on Monday night against the New Orleans Saints, and I'd assume it's Derek Carr and the Saints coming into town. Be the first primetime game for Bryce Young and company. I might try to go to that. What's thoughts here? New Orleans Saints, Monday the 18th, week 2.
Bryce Young gonna shock. He gonna be like, they're gonna listen. Bryce Young, that's a Monday night football game.
Yeah, so they're gonna get an extra.
We gonna really see how Bryce can perform when everybody's looking at him.
Yeah, this will be.
Guess what? Mm-hmm. He's already done that because he's been a national champion.
Go ask Georgia what he did to them in the SEC championship game 2 years ago, where he just this is the Georgia defense that people were saying might be one of the greatest of all time. And then he threw for like 400 yards or something on them and like had them juking and missing. And yeah, go ask Georgia.
That's a home game too. This is gonna be juice.
Home game. Bank of America Stadium's gonna be rocking that night, I think. You going with the win too, Schuyler, or are you gonna poo-poo on this? Because
even the teams here of late that haven't been that good have won at home against the Saints. So I'm gonna say I'm feeling the Stu vibe here with all the energy. They go 2-0, and all Panthers Nation is going ballistic. Starting
Super Bowl bound 2-0. The Panthers,
which is huge because of the 2 division games.
Right, the division games. So that would be huge for them to jump out that way. And everybody that was all like, "Well, we didn't see him do anything in the preseason." Frank Reich's plan would have been working to perfection. That nobody knows what we're running until about week 3 or 4, because we didn't show any of it in the preseason. Week 3 at Seattle, you gotta go cross country. It's a 4:05 kickoff. Seattle is one of those squads where it's like, I feel like they're quietly rebuilding what they were doing when Pete Carroll first got there. Like, it feels like the same blueprint. They're just filling in the gaps. What do you guys think about that one? That one seems a little tricky.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to say it, but
It's a tough one because I feel the vibes as well, and it's a cross country trip. It might be a little winded, Monday Night Football game.
Last time we went to Seattle, we won, if I'm not mistaken, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
I think that was the
I'm gonna say we might lose that one.
Still, Schuyler.
Yeah, I'm going to keep Desmond out of the voting still. I'm going loss here too.
All right. I mean, I can understand that one. Week 4, home, 1:00 kickoff versus Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. And
Thielen's old boys.
Yeah, so Thielen will get a chance to play against his former team, Justin Jefferson, who I saw yesterday. I don't know what it was, but he was voted the second best player in the NFL. Like, I don't know if I agree with a wide receiver that touches the ball maybe 10 times.
He's good.
He's good. It's crazy, too, because I was watching highlights of him last year. I think they were playing Green Bay or somebody. It felt like no one was guarding him. Like, every time he caught the ball, there was no one else in the screen for, 10-plus yards. Like, every time he caught the ball. He'd be, in the middle of the field, catching the ball. I'm like, how do you lose Justin Jefferson? No one scouted him.
I feel like the way they ran their offense was you had to cover everyone.
Yeah.
And so, you had Thielen out there. If you leave him open, then what? If you leave him open, he's going to catch the ball.
He's still he's going
to be in the right spot all the time.
Be there.
So I think who else was there?
Dalvin Cook was the running back.
There was another kid last year that went off.
Yeah, because Thielen didn't play a lot towards the end of the season. That other kid started playing a little bit more. I think
at the end of the day, though, the Minnesota Vikings, that's a home game for us.
Yep.
They're going to be they're going to throw it to Thielen. So we got to make sure we don't make them don't let them make us look bad. And I feel like our tight end is going to have a killer.
Hurst
that game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because of the coverage aspect, I feel like when you go into games where it's you have a meaningful game, especially if you're a defense, you're going to be all wound up and trying to stop a guy. And you have a quarterback like Bryce Young, who's highly educated and smart and knows what to do with the ball. He's going to utilize those tight ends a lot this year, I feel like.
Yeah, and my understanding is Frank Reich used the tight end position, which is probably why they kept 5 of them. Just answer my own question. That he really uses the tight end position a lot in his offense. So you picking a win or a loss for Minnesota?
That's a dub.
Schuyler?
Desmond, welcome to the party. You get to vote.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Crap. And you left it with Minnesota. They won 13 games last year.
But
they don't have Thielen anymore. They let Dalvin Cook go. I don't know if they're exactly going to be the same.
Got Jordan Addison now.
That's true. Was that the one from last year?
No, he's a rookie.
He's a rookie. Okay, but was he a Blitnikoff winner?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Okay, he's the one that went to USC, right? Yeah, and the whole NIL stuff where he was basically they paid me to come over here, and I came. I'm gonna go. They're at home, and I feel like Frank Reich and this coaching staff in particular are going to really hammer home the importance of winning all your home games, especially at BOA. I'm gonna pick them to win because it's at BOA. So right now, after the first 4 weeks, we got them at 3-1. Just hold on, Panther fans. Just just hold on, and I'm sure this is going to even out here in a little bit. Week 5, Sunday, October the 8th, 1 p.m. kickoff on Fox at the kneecap biting Detroit Lions.
Revenge week here for Detroit. And
the indoors for this one.
I know I sound like a Debbie Downer here with all these losses I'm suggesting, but it's really a tough start to the schedule. It's going to get easier after the bye week, but I'm going loss here. I think Detroit responds, gets their revenge.
Yeah, I'm going with you on that as well. Detroit just seems like whoever that running back is they got. If he does what he was doing in preseason, it's going to be a problem.
They let Swift,
especially on that turf.
Yeah, Detroit looks like they're right there in that division too. The NFC North. and we're going to do division winners next week, but Detroit might.
They're in the mix.
Yeah, they're in there. They're in there. Like that's an interesting division. A lot of turnover there. Like, it's been Aaron Rodgers' division forever. So like, this is the first year where it's almost like when Tom Brady left the AFC East. It's like it kind of opened up everything. I kind of expect that to happen there. Week 6, October 15th, 1:00 kickoff on CBS at the Miami Dolphins, who may have the fastest collection of wide receivers in the league, like history, like all in one room.
This is tough for the old secondary. I can't see. This one seems like a game where they may fall behind 2 scores early and they just can't keep up. I'm going loss.
Stu?
I'm going loss as well.
And we're 3-3. So it's just like that. So as we enter the bye week,
it's about to get good though. It's about to get good.
Now, honestly, if we get to the bye week and we're 3-3,
keeping your head above.
Yeah, that's probably with 2 division wins. Like out of 3, we're okay. We're okay. Panther fans, calm down. We're okay. 3-3. We're at the bye. Is it good to have the bye that early, Stu? Week 7?
I feel like that's a good bye.
Yeah.
I think it's
who you got coming after.
I mean, it's you got Texans, Colts. I mean,
home games.
That's a pretty good confidence builder right there.
That's gonna be fun. They might flex that game. Houston, not that one. Houston, Carolina, week 8, end of October, Sunday, October 29th, 1:00 kickoff, Bank of America Stadium. They are at home. This is our little stretch where we go through the first and second year quarterbacks versus Bryce Young. So I would assume CJ Stroud is starting in this game. So it'll be the number 1 pick versus the number 2 pick in this previous draft. Texans, Panthers. It's at Bank of America Stadium.
This is a win. I mean, the Texans are such a big rebuild. I know everyone talks about Arizona being maybe the worst team in the league, and they very well might, but I don't think Houston's very far off.
Now, Houston picked at number 2 because they had the number 2 pick. We picked the number 1 because we went up to go get it. And I think a lot of analysts forget that because they're like, the Panthers, they were the worst team in the league last year. They had the number 1 pick. No, like follow the narrative. That's not what happened. The Texans, though, they lost everything. They have nothing. And they literally got probably the most aggressive I've seen a team in the trade, in the draft in a long time in terms of what they did in the first round this year. To get the 2 guys they wanted, and they're probably going to be picking on next year too. So we're going to call that a dub since it's at home.
Yeah. It's a true rebuild year for them.
Week 9.
We're going to take full advantage of that.
I'm looking at that game. Depending on what both teams are doing, they might flex that to a night game because you're going to have Bryce Young versus Anthony Richardson prime time.
Frank is his old team.
It's Frank Wright's old team that let him go. It's at home. It's at Bank of America Stadium. It's already an afternoon game. It's at 4:05 on that Sunday, November the 5th. It's on CBS.
Will Jonathan Taylor be there?
That's a great question.
I want to say no.
If Jonathan Taylor is around and they somehow work something out and he's playing, he's going to be pissed off. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that. Stay home. You're gonna be mad. Like you didn't got to come with it. I don't know. It's so far out. There's no way to really know. But yeah, you're right. If Taylor's actually playing, that RPO with Taylor and Richardson,
scary.
It's scary. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do with it. So it's almost like Jalen Hurts running it, but just on a different level athletically. But Indianapolis.
I'm going the dub.
I think it's at home. It's at home, and I'm sticking with that. So Panthers win 2 more. So we got them now after week 9. 5 wins, 3 losses, so 5-3. Week 10 at the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields. Got a couple of guys there that we're pretty familiar with. DJ Moore at wide receiver, maybe Deontay Foreman. I never checked if he got cut. Deontay Foreman at running back. It's at Soldier Field. It's a primetime game, actually. That's a Thursday night game on Prime Video.
This is a game where you look at the 2 teams stacked up against each other, and I think you would probably say the Panthers are still a little bit more talented, but you're going to win some games and lose some games you shouldn't. I think this is a game they lose that they shouldn't, but they're going to win another game here soon that they're probably not going to be favored in. So I'm going loss.
Stu?
I'm going a dub.
And for those that are following, Deontay Foreman looks like he made the cut in Chicago. So we'll hold on to that dream for another day.
I think he did get hurt or something like that.
Yeah, I think he's hurt.
Game, didn't he?
So yeah, I think he's injured. Again, we're talking about a team that picked where they picked. Well, they had the number one pick. We traded with them. Like, they were the worst team in football last year. I think with this one, it's going to depend on how much Justin Fields has progressed from rookie year to this
Short
year.
week, too. Short week.
Short week.
I don't
it's
know
a Thursday game. It's on the road.
Off day or off week before that or not. But
That seems like one of the ones where we just, we have one game every year where we're just flat. Like, nothing works. It just from the very beginning, like, you just kind of know, all right, this game is something's off with us today. I think it could be that one for everything you just said. Short week, you're coming off of playing a late Sunday game, and now you got to go fly to Chicago, play the Bears on a Thursday night. But they're not very good. So it's like
Desmond, let me break it down to you. This is going to be a character building game.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, these would be, you start the season off as a team that you don't really know what you're really all about. This week 10, you'll know exactly who the Panthers are.
I'm gonna, you talked me into it. I'm gonna pick the Panthers because
There you go. There you go, baby. Let's go.
you
Get off the bridge
and everything. Yeah, because it's like at that point we
Step away from the bridge.
Now we're doing this assuming that we're as healthy as can be. We're good to go. We're fresh, like in week 10. Week 11, the Dallas Cowboys come to Bank of America Stadium. That is a 1:00 game on Fox.
Will Dak Prescott be starting?
Oh, Trey Lance. I'm not worried about Trey Lance being there. Like, I've served that narrative all week. I'm like, Trey Lance couldn't start in San Francisco. Like, they tried to give it to him, and he couldn't hold on to it. I think he's a year or two away. Now, did that please Dak that they went out and did that? No, they didn't even tell him. Apparently,
there's Cowboys fans out there that are more ticked that they let Will Greer go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We know Will. We know Will quite well.
Hey, and he played it. Will had a great
he did.
Preseason.
Somebody's going to grab him. And then, Cooper Rush is still there. That's what I was saying before. Like, Dallas has a pretty good situation at quarterback. You can kind of stow Trey Lance away for a little bit. And if Dak is, asking for more than what you want to give him on an extension, or he throws another 20 interceptions or whatever it was like he did last year, which is weird because before last year, Dak was like the dude when it came to like ball security. Like he rarely turned it over. And last year, like, I don't know what happened to him, but the faucet he had a couple of 3 interception games. And I would assume he's going to come back to the mean. He's not going to be playing like that again this year. Plus, Dallas has won like 12 games, like past 2 years or something like that. So, I mean, Dallas is a good team. I don't know what happened with McCarthy calling the plays, but
this is the game that I think they win that they probably should.
They win that they probably shouldn't.
Okay, I can ride with that.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that term.
You expect the Cowboy takeover at BOA, and Des is going to hear it all week from all these Cowboy fans in North Carolina. But then,
they're going to start.
Everyone's going to come back on Monday, and you'll see it on First Take and everything else. Oh my God, the Cowboys lost to the Panthers. Their season's over. It sucked.
Yeah.
So this is it right here.
Have y'all watched Undisputed yet? Have you watched the new Undisputed yet?
No.
It is insanity. It is complete chaos for like 2 hours. It's Skip Bayless. Imagine these 4 guys on a show. Skip Bayless, Keyshawn Johnson, Richard Sherman, Michael Irvin. It's those 4 around the smallest table they could find. It's the 4 of them just yelling at each other about just everything. And it's awesome. Like, it is great. I hate it because I hate it because it's so there's no structure really to it once they get going. I love it because Skip is like on his own show and he's just kind of having to sit back and listen. Like he can't even walk. Like
don't you say nothing, Skip.
They literally are like going to take his show and like they probably got one too many guys, but If you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's a little different than what you're used to with Skip and Shannon. And Shannon Sharp's going to be on First Take next week. So they just basically did
Stephen A.
swap.
I can't wait for them. They're going to both team up. They're going to both team up on Dallas.
yeah, for real. Yeah, they're going to go in on that. I feel bad for Dan Orlovsky.
Carolina Panthers about to get so much pub that week. Hey, listen, Panther fans. There better not be no excuse why we should be packing out this stadium. I don't want to see no doubt. It should be 75% full of Panther fans.
Remember San Francisco and what happened last year when that whole
we can't have that.
Because I remember Stu texting us. He was like, "Yo, it's like blood red in here. Like the whole stadium is 49 red and gold. Like what happened?" I'm like, "This might be
bloody mess in here.
This might be the last week of some of this." Did we pick them to win? Dallas?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. It's getting kind of interesting. Week 12. I'm trying to burn through here. Tennessee at Tennessee on Fox. It's a 1:00 kick, which I like. Panthers team tend to do fairly well at 1:00 kickoffs. Not that far to travel. I don't know what Tennessee is. Like, I really don't have a beat on Tennessee at all. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I don't know. I don't know.
I think they're going to be better than people think because people probably by now forget that they have DeAndre Hopkins, and I know that the narrative is that that's where receivers go to die. But
that's right.
I mean, you have Derrick Henry in the backfield still, and if he's healthy, I think Ryan Tannehill is still going to be the starter. I think this is a game that they probably should lose, but again, I think they find a way to win. So I'm going to the win here.
Stu?
I feel like they might lose this one.
It's on the road. They just played Dallas. They've won. Actually, looking at this, they would be on a 4-game win.
Actually, yeah. Let me check myself here. I'm going lost too because now that I think about it, they're going to be feeling all fat and sassy after that Dallas win. So,
I mean, again, based on what we got here,
and rightfully so.
They would have beat the Texans, the Colts, the Bears, and the Cowboys. So they would be on a 4-game winning streak at this point, and they would be that's 4. Maybe 7-3 before going into this game. Like you're talking about leading the division. Hell, you might be talking about leading the conference at that point. If you're 7-3 after 10 games, you're going to be up there with them. But I kind of agree. Well, you both said they lose, so it doesn't really matter what I say. So week 12, they got it as a loss. Week 13 at Tampa Bay. It's the first time we see Tampa Bay this season.
It's the team twice. And
I think
Tampa's got some dudes at the skill position. I know they got Baker, but hey, this could be he can look at it as a revenge game for himself.
We didn't do nothing to him. We didn't do nothing to Baker. We gave him every opportunity in the world. Why are you mad at us?
If we're being honest, Tampa Bay has way more at skill positions than what he had last year, Carolina, minus Christian McCaffrey. So,
True. Well, I mean, he had DJ Moore here too. Yeah, but you're right. Overall, volume-wise, he's got some more there. But I think I've lost faith in Baker Mayfield. Whatever faith I had, if this feels like Tampa Bay is starting Baker so they can draft Caleb Williams next year. That's what it feels like to me. Like they literally are like, okay, we are hoping you turn in some sort of performance like you did last year to set us up to get Caleb Williams for next year. And at this point in the season, week 13, I don't know if we see some of those skill position players out there. Like there's going to be injuries, there's going to be things going on. Is Mike Evans playing week 13? Are some of those guys actually out there? Because at that point, the fix is in. If they're really trying to go after Caleb Williams, we're going to know by week 13 in Tampa. They're just not that good. I think it's a win too, but again, that's not really my Stu. What you think it's a win or?
It's a dub, man. Stop playing.
All right, so we got it as a win. Week 14 at New Orleans, at the Caesars Superdome, 1:00 kickoff Sunday, December the 10th. It's on Fox. We picked them to beat New Orleans at the beginning of the season in week 2. What do we got going on here in the rematch? That's my pin died.
I'm gonna go with the loss, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but that's only because it's the beginning of the season, and I don't know any better.
This is typically when the Saints start playing good football, regardless of who their coach or quarterback is. It's hard to beat a team twice, like I just mentioned. So I think they get a split here.
Ooh, okay. So now it's getting interesting. So we got that as a loss. Week 15, we're going to start powering through. To be determined. Don't know when they're going to play this game. Atlanta at Bank of America Stadium. That is a home game. We had them beating Atlanta on the road week 1. They don't see them again until week 15. Win or loss, gentlemen?
That's a win, and it's going to be a grind. We're going to find out, how our team can, grind through games. Because I'm pretty sure Atlanta is not going to pass the ball that much this year.
Yeah, I think Robinson's going to earn his paycheck this year for sure. Schuyler?
Yeah, ugly, but a win.
All right, week 16, Green Bay. This is an interesting one because I've been hearing a lot of glowing stuff about Jordan Love. And to be honest, looking on it, he should be positioned to play well. He just sat behind one of the GOATs for 4 years or something like that. He's watched everything this man has done and practice how he eats, like everything. He should be okay. And Green Bay, they've got a running game. They got an offensive line. They got a decent defense. They were just a little off last year. They lost a couple of games by 5 points or less, if I'm not mistaken. I think they lost 4 or 5 that way. So they weren't bottoming out or anything. I think just the relationship between, I almost called him Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I think it just disrupted everything else that whole year. Having said that, where is this? This game is at Bank of America Stadium, and it's a 1:00 kickoff. It's Christmas Eve. Sunday, December 24th. Win or lose against the Jordan Love-led Green Bay Packers.
Last year, Christmas Eve was a freeze fest, but Green Bay's not foreign to that at all. So I'm going to go Green Bay. I think they struggle at the start of the season, but by this time they're rolling, they're cooking, and I think they're sneaking on that playoff push. So I'm going Green Bay.
Stu? Green Bay might be good. Green Bay might be good.
A loss.
Loss? Oh, okay.
A loss.
Home? They take it home? Okay. That's the only home loss I think.
This is one that depth starts to factor in.
Yeah. Oh, so did you pick loss? You picked loss too, right, Schuyler?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So this is the first home loss that they've picked here. So we're in week 17. And we are at the Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville might be a surprise team in the AFC. They're trying to build things up.
Yeah, Jacksonville is really good, man. Yeah. I feel like Jacksonville about to.
Maybe
I ain't gonna say it. I ain't gonna talk about it. This is Bleav in Panthers. But I feel like this is gonna be a hard, fought game. We're gonna fall behind. I feel like Ridley is going to have one of those years that just...
Oh, snap. I forgot they got Calvin Ridley.
It's just one of those crazy years out of a receiver that people had expectations for, and he's going to meet those expectations. I'm going to go with a loss.
Yeah, this team's way too talented. They may be one of the better teams in the AFC.
Wow.
If Trevor takes that next step, that's uphill sledding. Yeah.
It's crazy, too, that with all the talk we talk about the AFC being loaded with quarterbacks, you usually have to get to number 6 or 7 before you even mention Trevor Lawrence. And actually, to be honest, I rarely even hear them mention Trevor Lawrence in terms of that upper echelon of quarterbacks in just the AFC. Usually, it's Mahomes, it's Allen, it's Lamar Jackson.
He really only had last year because before that he had the circus with Urban. So.
Yeah. And that Netflix, y'all kind of screwed up with that documentary. Y'all left so much out, so much stuff. There's a lot of thuggery going on that team, and we didn't get see none of it. None. The Pouncey twins, no Cam Newton. I did see Cam briefly in a clip. He was dancing in the background doing something, but they didn't even mention him really. They didn't mention him at all. Now that I think about it, they could have did that completely different. But if you haven't watched it, go watch Swamp Kings on Netflix. It's the story of the Florida Gators championship runs with Tim Tebow. Week 18, Tampa Bay, last game of the season at Bank of America Stadium. I was trying to tally up.
That's a gimme.
At that point, Tampa's all in on Caleb Williams. At that point, I think I'm serious. They are all in. Like there's no telling who's going to be playing for Tampa in that last game. I'm gonna say they're going to win that game. Are we go with that? Where you think,
Yeah,
Schuyler? Because you look like you're thinking.
yeah, they definitely they're going for top 5 pick.
I really don't think Tampa's going to be as bad as we think. That defense still's got some playmakers on it. And like I said, they've got guys at receiver. They've got guys that can catch the ball for Baker. And you look at, if they want to be in that Caleb Williams mix, they have a long way to go. They got to really, really tank because Arizona just cut Colt McCoy. And they're now going to start probably Josh Dobbs. Like we just talked about Houston. Like I don't even think they're one of the 2 worst teams. Maybe not even the worst 3.
Schuyler, forget what you're talking about.
I'm just saying.
Tampa's about to be not great.
Well, let me frame this, though, going in, because this matters, too. Going into that game, what we've picked, going into that game, Carolina would be 9-7.
Yeah, they got to win this game. Yeah, they're going to win 10 games this year. All right, move on.
So they win that, I'm going to give them they're 10-7. Does that win the division?
Close.
I think it's going to be close. I think the Saints, man, is the problem.
No, I ain't going to give the Saints no kind of – no. Every year they turn –
Saints are always going to be the problem.
For us, they're throwing our side, but then they're going to end up just messing it up in the end anyway. It's the Saints. Like, I can't vibe with that. But 10-7, first-year head coach, rookie quarterback starting – that ain't a bad way, and you'll play. And actually, if you win the division, you're gonna get a bye. You're gonna get a bye and play in the playoffs. So we'll stop it right there. So we got them at 10-7 on the season, which
congratulations.
Considering I picked the Panthers to win 11 games last year, I picked the Panthers to win 11 games last year. They won 9. So or no, they didn't. What did they win last year? 7. That was close. Not really, but their hearts, they were trying. They were trying to get to 11. 10-7, I'd be happy with if they get there. We'll see if they do. We're going to go ahead and get out of here, though. Next week, whole show we're picking the division winners. So we already kind of have here what we think the Panthers will be at 10-7. What do we think about the rest of the NFC South? All the divisions, NFC and AFC. We might even get into figuring out, okay, well, here's the playoffs. This is what's going to happen. We might try to crown a Super Bowl winners. We might get a little nuts in here next week. So definitely make sure you pull up a chair. Check us out here on the Bleav Podcast Network, brought to you by Bet Online. We'll be back next week, probably around about the same part of the week. Again, go subscribe at the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel. You get a notification. If you hit the like button and subscribe, it'll let you know when we're about to come on so you can plan accordingly and join in on the fun. For Jonathan Stewart, Schuyler Callihan, I'm Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to the Carolina Panthers Bleav in Panthers podcast on the Bleav Podcast Networks. Keep pounding.